look leetcode 24, swap nodes in pairs. Let's take a look at the problem. We want to get, here's a linked list. We swap every 2 adjacent nodes and the return is head. You must solve the problem without modifying the values in the list nodes. So let's look at the example. If one give you a 1, 2, 3, 4 linked nodes, we get 2, 1, the first 2 pairs swap, and the fourth 3, right? The second pair swap. And if you just have an empty list and you return empty and you have only 1, you return just 1 node. All right, so let's take a look how we're gonna solve this. So we have 4 nodes, 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to swap every pair. What we can think of is we have a pair, this is another pair, and so on, right? So very straightforward we can think of is we are solving something repeatedly. So we are going to using a recursion function to solve this one. What we can solve first is how we can swap the first 2 nodes, right? And then we can use this technique to apply to all the other pairs. Okay, so swap 2 nodes. What we can do, we have a head node, right? And we know this one will be head next, right? What we want to do is we want to introduce a new, like a dummy node, right? Already, we pointed it to head next, and then we will point the head to the next node, and then we're gonna also point this one back to the head. So first we're gonna define let's see, a dummy node called temp. We're gonna assign this to the head, the next, this node. And then we're gonna point head dot next to the next function, right? So, and look at what we are taking in. We are taking in here just the head node. So on this function here, we want to get the head node for the second pair, which is head dot next dot next, right? Then we point 2 to 1, which is the temp dot next equals the head, right? At the very end, we are just to return the dummy node. Okay. All right. Some people might say, can we swap the number 2 and number 3? Actually, no, you cannot. I will show you the reason here, right? So let's see if we, let's delete this, right? See if we change this one. Now we want to point, this is the head still, right? And let's do first temp still equals to head of next. So the temp right now equals to number 2, right? So nothing changed. So all this thing still here, this thing still here, everything stayed the same, right? So let's do the third one first. So the temp dot next equals to head. What's going to happen is this temp dot next, right? Temp, which is number 2, dot next, which is this thing, right? We change it to the head. So we're gonna remove this thing and we point it back to head. This is what happened. So then if you do, then you do this head dot next equals to this function. Look at this link. There is no point right now can reach to this number 3 node, right? Because you break this link too early. Right now, if you do the head dot next, head dot next, so they want to point to somewhere, right? You give a function, and if you call head dot next dot next dot next head dot next, you can still find number 2, but there is no link to number 3, so there is none. This will be the none, which will break it, so lead to no results. Okay, so very carefully, you have to do number 2 step first, and then you can point to the head, the temp dot next to head. All right, so let's code it up. So basically, what we want to do first is we check if the head exists, right? If it's not head, or the head doesn't have, there is only one node here, right? There is no next. Then we just return itself, right? Other than that, we make a dummy node and point it to head.next. It's number 2, right? Then we are gonna point number 1.next to the next pair, whatever return from the next pair. So we call it self swap pairs. What is the next pair's node? I mean, the first node when you do the next pair, right? Is head.next. All right. Then we point to the number 2.next to head. So all done, we just return the temp, which is number 2. All right, that's it. Let's run. All right, submit. Cool. All right, that's it.